News Explosion. Tim's 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 News Explosion.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Tim's News Explosion on this Monday the 10th of February 2025. We are live on the Wilms Front YouTube channel, the Wilms Front Rumble channel and my Wilms Front X account. It is 8:30 p.m. here in Melbourne, Victoria, where we are still waiting for the Victorian Electoral Commission to count the rest of the votes cast in the Prahran and Werribee state by-elections that were held on Saturday. So what we do know is that all of the election analysts have called the seat of Prahran, which was triggered by the resignation of the incumbent Greens member, Sam Higgins, who'd held it for 10 years after he was kicked out of the party room for having a consensual affair with a staffer. The Labor Party decided not to contest it, so it was a Greens versus Liberal contest. So the Liberals pre-selected Rachel Westaway, who, as I went through the candidates last week, she is the president of the Thai Australian community and has also been on the Administrative Appeals Tribunal, and now the former Labor member for the seat, Tony Lupton, from 2002 to 2010, stood as an independent and preferenced the Liberals over the Greens in response to their pro-Palestinian activism. And so even though, if we go back to the results here, there wasn't, in the primary vote, there was only a -6% swing against the Greens on primary. There was a 4.8% swing on the primary to the Liberals, and the independent, a former Labor member, Tony Lupton, he got 12.8%, which he's counted by Anthony Green here on the ABC election guide as the Labor candidate, even though he's independent. So it's counted as a 14% swing to the Labor Party. So on two-party preferred, the Liberals' Rachel Westaway is on 15,406 votes. So that is 51.6% two-party preferred, 13.6% swing two-party preferred. So is just under 1,000 votes ahead of the Greens candidate, Angelica Di Camillo, who works in clean energy. So on the Sunday, the Liberals claimed victory and the Greens conceded. I saw that there was some spin that the Liberals picking a moderate and a diverse candidate, because Rachel Westaway identifies as a proud Thai Chinese Australian. So because in Thailand, there's also a lot of mixed Thai and Chinese, including the current Prime Minister of Thailand. So that was a bit of a mouthful when she said that. There was because it's too close to call in Werribee. Because even though they were supposed to be counting today as well, the Victorian Electoral Commission, because they decided that they weren't going to count on Sunday. Why? Because it's the Sabbath. So yeah, there's been no update today, even though they would have got some through the mail that they could have counted. So the ALP's candidate, so remember this was triggered, this by-election, by the resignation of the treasurer of 10 years, Tim Pallas. Uncle Fester has given us the biggest state debt in the nation. So the ALP candidate, John Lister, 31-year-old, who's a teacher, is just holding on two-party preferred by around 400 votes against the Liberal candidate, Steve Murphy. So 19,691 votes, two-party preferred. But both major parties had a primary vote of less than 30%. So the Liberals only had a 3.7% swing, which put them on 29%. There was a 16.7% swing against the Labor Party for a primary vote of 28.7%. There was an independent local businessman, Paul Hopper, 14.7%, who didn't allocate preferences. The Greens polled 7.5% of the vote, but the big surprise was the Victorian Socialists, their candidate Sue Munro, who has been a regular at all of the socialist rallies and counter rallies, whether it's against the nationalists or against the TERFs. Even though there was a Herald Sun hit piece against Sue Munro in the lead up to the by-election campaign in the Herald Sun. So she apparently didn't like the photo because she looks different now. But she has looked like that. I mean, obviously the socialist alternative corflute. It looks to me like it's sort of been touched up a bit. So Sue Munro, she pretty much attends every pro-Palestine rally in the city every Sunday. She on social media said the Victoria Police are overpaid and worth zero, and said that Hamas exists because of the general trauma you put all the Palestinians through. And when that she was commented by the Herald Sun, she dodged the questions about whether she would condemn Hamas's October 7 massacre in Israel. So if we go back to the photo of Sue Munro that was put up on the ABC's website. So if we go down to here, so yeah, that was Sue Munro's photo there. I doubt she's gotten much better, but the Victorian Socialists, they pulled all their resources, all their volunteers to hand out on election day. I saw that Auditing Australia did a live stream, and then I also saw that Senator Slayer decided to pop down to be on the live stream, and said that Sue Munro was quite friendly for a while with a convicted lady killer, David Hollis, who used to attend a lot of the socialist events back in the day, and actually took out an intervention order against Senator Slayer because he called David Hollis for what he is, a convicted lady killer as part of a mass stabbing spree in Meadowbank in 1991. He was able to only spend 18 months in prison because he claimed, the judge believed that it was a mental episode because he heard a dog bark and then decided to go on a stabbing spree. So yeah, that's who the socialist activists allowed to hang out with them for a while. Now, DML says, Werribee might have grown a brain, but it's too early to tell. Well, I did see the week before the Werribee by-election that there was some Liberals who thought that an Indian, a candidate of Indian ethnicity should have been pre-selected for the Victorian Liberals. So Steve Murphy, so he is a real estate agent in his early 60s, used to be in the Army Victoria police officer, and so there was some Liberals who were lamenting to Chip Legrand and members of Melbourne's Indian diaspora, disappointed that a Indian Australian businessman, because well, you have to be an Australian citizen to run for Parliament. Though in Victoria, you don't. You can still be a dual citizen. I don't know if Rachel Westaway, the winning candidate in Paran, is a dual Australian Thai citizen, or whether Rajan Chopra is a dual Indian Australian citizen. There's probably some who believe that it would have got the Liberals over the line if they pre-selected an Indian candidate. They haven't won in Victoria with an Indian candidate, but they did win the seat of Chisholm in 2019 with a Chinese Australian candidate, Gladys Liu. And well, obviously it goes. I just rehash the history. It was revealed that she claimed that she had, without her knowledge, been signed up to Chinese Communist Party United Front community groups. So Steve Murphy, he also was a member of the Catholic fraternity Knights of the Southern Cross, which is a proper Catholic fraternal order. It's not woke like the current Pope. So Chip Legrand did a lot of a state by-election coverage, and on the Sunday, now I knew that the VEC would be absolutely slow counting the votes, and part of the reason it was is because after polls closed, the VEC counters buggered off for a half-hour dinner break. Apparently, democracy can wait, and so it was described as disastrous and a complete dog's breakfast by senior officials from both major parties. And you may remember that in the 2022 state election, I think it was in the division of Bass, they ran out of ballot papers at various booths. They had to get some more printed. And then there was this really strange thing with the Dan Andrews count in Mulgrave. There was no update. Then all the votes were dumped at the end of the night, which showed that he had won. So apparently the VEC ordered one of its own election officials to leave a polling place early in the day. The official was reportedly heard telling people to vote Liberal. That's certainly bizarre. And so there's calls for a separate parliamentary inquiry. And one of the delays in the votes being tallied was that the VC mistook pre-poll ballots from one polling place mistaken for those lodged in another. So that caused a stop in the vote count after 7 p.m. and start again. Then later in the evening, a leak from an air conditioner in the counting room caused a portion of the ceiling to collapse onto the floor. No one was injured, and an area was cordoned off around the soggy pieces of fallen plasterboard. Well, if that isn't a sign that Labor, the Allen Labor government, has led to crumbling infrastructure in this state. So the scrutineers were kicked out of the counting rooms while the why are they taking all of their dinner breaks at the same time? And of course, as I just mentioned, they didn't count any votes on the Sunday. And but a VC spokesperson said that this would have no impact on the timing of the results because all votes received by the VC had already been counted. So, of course, the VC claims that, we haven't done nothing majorly went wrong. That's what they claimed after 2022. D-Mill says Dan didn't need to campaign because he had all these votes literally in the bag. I don't know what you could possibly mean there. The Iron Duke says that the Victorian Liberals, after the taxi driver vote, trying to pre-select an Indian candidate. Now, the Victorian Socialists, they would have heavily door-knocked and targeted the Indian migrant community. Although there was also, I don't know if the Legalized Cannabis Party, they have a lot of left-wing positions apart from legalizing cannabis. I doubt a lot of Indians would have voted for them. But the reason they do so well now is because political party ballots, they are printed on the ballot paper. So you see the logo, and they use the marijuana leaf as their political party logo. So people who are that way inclined see the marijuana leaf, legalized cannabis, hey, I'll vote for them. And they've done very well at the recent Victorian and New South Wales elections there. So a lot of the decline in Labor's primary vote, they will be alarmed at that. Ben Carroll, the Deputy Premier, it looks like he wants to stab Jacinta Allen in the back to become Premier, said the collapse in Labor's vote was totally unacceptable. But a lot of that vote was to other left-wing parties, such as legalised cannabis, a bit more to the Greens and the Victorian Socialists. Now, it seems to me that because a lot of people have been, a lot of pro-Israel Zionist commentators such as Avi Yemeni have said that the reason for the Greens' poor result is because they support Hamas. Well, it seems to me that those who Palestine is an important issue for them are going to just go for the most hardcore party, which is the Victorian Socialists. Now, going from the Victorian Socialists to National Socialists. So as I was going to air last night, Sam Newman had released early his podcast with Thomas Sewell and Blair Cottrell. So I couldn't watch it until after Tim's News Explosion last week, and it seemed like Sam conducted a pretty tough, robust interview with them, and so now the reason Sam he released it early is because this Herald Sun thought bimbo reporter, Brooke Kerber-Craig, had done a hit piece and quoted Devere Abramovich, who said Sam Newman spit on Holocaust survivors. Brooke claimed, I listened to Sam Newman's podcast with neo-Nazis so that you won't have to. Here's all the rubbish that was said. And she claimed that Newman did very little to challenge Thomas Sowell and Blair Cottrell's lies. I thought that he did. And so I can't believe Sam Newman thought that this was a fair summary of the interview. And so she accused Sam of giving the pair time and a platform to speak their insidious ideologies and conspiracy theories. So Thomas Sowell, responding to Sam's first question about what he thought of Hitler, said, I believe that Adolf Hitler was the greatest man of the 20th century. And then Sam asked him about the Holocaust. I believe the Holocaust is disputed. I don't believe that it's true. I think that it's a $1 trillion industry that's been running for too long. Of course, Sam's going to ask Tom about that first to confirm, do you believe all the stuff that Nazis of the past believe? Sowell continued his tangent, claiming gas chambers were a falsity created by a narrative. And going down further, so Brooke claims that the trio spoke in depth about the illegal Nazi salute until Cottrell spat the dummy at the 12-minute mark. We've jumped into the deep end with this conversation. I didn't know we were going to start off with Hitler and the Holocaust. Sam Newman, as he said to Blair during the podcast interview, that he doesn't edit anything, even when Sam gets flustered and he forgets things. Now, it's not actually included in Brooke's article, but I think certainly what raised my eyebrow during the interview is when Thomas Sowell said that his prescription for returning to a white Australia was to deport 12 million non-whites, which is, to put it mildly, to the average person and to myself, completely unreasonable. And so they tried throughout the interview to get Sam to agree with a lot of what they were saying about the current failures of multiculturalism and also our falling living standards, which they claim is the result of mass migration. So Blair said, I could imagine in the 60s, not that I was alive back then, Australia was a nice place to live, and it's probably different as a result of the people who are coming into this country. And Sewell said, I want our country to be free and noble and white. And then Brooks says the racist and homophobic remarks continued to explicit to repeat. I'm not sure what homophobic remarks she is referring to, other than Sewell said that homosexuals and other deviants and degenerates couldn't join the National Socialist network, because homosexuals obviously they have to have relations with women white women to have white offspring. That was basically the reason Thomas Sowell said that they couldn't join. Now, Sam released his regular segment with Ivan, which is not his real name. I'm not sure what his real name is, but he's called Ivan because Sam reckons he looks like Ivan Milat, so he's called Ivan. And Richard Wollstonecroft, who's known as Dick from Muff because of his Melbourne Underground Film Festival, he released that on the Tuesday for the record. And he decided to unload on Blair Cottrell because he wasn't he wasn't invited to accompany Tom into the studio. He went with Tom as basically a witness and to make a recording of the podcast himself in case it was snipped up. He did the same thing when Thomas Sewell went on, was interviewed by Todd Sampson for his Mirror Mirror, a Love and Hate episode. Now, it didn't go to air because Blair posted a photo of him and Todd Sampson with Todd Sampson smiling, and so that led to, I think, to Network 10 pulling Tom's segment. And if you ask me, I think Blair made the same mistake here in posting the photo of him and Tom outside the Smartass Sam sign on the Monday. So, because Sam's an old boomer set in his ways, his mindset is like, even though I record these interviews whenever the guest is available, I like to dump everything on the Wednesday. So I think that Blair forcing Sam to release it early so people could make up their mind for themselves rather than there be these media hit pieces, that probably irritated Sam. But what it seems that led to, well, I'll play first Sam unloading on Blair, and then I'll play, it's not actually Blair's video, he just shared it on his X before he was suspended, of Sam on the footy show to some music and with the British Australian soldiers in the background saying maybe the Foss was one of us all along. And Sam Newman, he was within his right to call that out and say, no, I am not one of you. It was only a hypothetical, him asking like, could I join National Socialist Network? What's the qualifications? That was just a hypothetical. So yeah, this is Sam unloading on Blair.
Man accompanied him called Blair Cottrell,
Yep.
who wasn't invited. He was an interloper. He sat where you are, Ivan, and he turned out to be a turd. He turned out to be a opportunist. He thought, and he posted today, he posted that maybe the Foss was one of us all along or something like that. I think that's what he said. Blair is a scumbag. He's a 24-carat gold scumbag. As I said, he wasn't invited, and he thought he is a staff fucker. He thought he'll link me to his cause, and he's posted pictures of me on the footy show and then war Nazi marches in the background claiming, trying to link me to his cause. Thomas Sewell was, he was responsible, as in just was here because I asked him to be here. Cottrell turned up, and in his pissy little world that he lives in, his diminutive pissy little world where he can't make it on his own, he tries to link people with stronger juices so that he's a parasite. So that's him. I have plenty of people who are friends of mine who are Jewish. I have plenty of people of friends of mine. I don't have plenty. I don't have plenty of Jewish friends. But I have Jewish friends, and I have Muslim friends. Many of them. I do not have any friends who are Nazis or neo-Nazis. None.
I am a white, Anglo-Saxon, male, Protestant, heterosexual. I'm waiting for my day to come.
This has been open to this, and as I say,
Now, I'm about to play Avi Yemeni's interview with Sam Newman that was broadcast on Wednesday evening. Now, Auditing Australia says Blair was in his right to pull him up on his own monkey references. Sam is a gronk. Yeah, this was raised right at the end. So Sam Newman on the Footy Show, I remember this was around about 2009. So it was part of a Sam's mailbag segment where people were sending through photos of ridiculous looking couples getting married. So it was all started by somebody sending in a photo of when Billy Brownless got married, and it's this fat balding woman who, that's the one they reckon looks like Billy Brownless. The photo's been around for the internet many years. So what happened in the week after is that somebody sent in a photo of a 90-year-old Malaysian woman on her 19th husband. And he said of the man marrying her, look at this monkey, he's not that long out of the forest. And that was interpreted as racist because they would have interpreted that as Sam saying that Malaysians look like monkeys, when he's probably Sam was probably calling him a monkey because, like, hypothetically, you marrying a 90-year-old woman, what the hell's with that? And Sam uses the term not long out of the forest regularly to people of all races, but he was wrapped over the knuckles by the broadcasting authority, ACMA. Though Sam, he has always denied that he's a racist. In fact, one of the things he took umbrage with Thomas Sewell is saying that the Aboriginals should be kicked out of the cities and be left to govern themselves out in the bush because they didn't build the cities. And if you listen to Sam regularly, I'm quoting Thomas Sewell. Yeah, of course. Anyway, I was quoting Thomas Sewell before, so anyone can take that out of context. I remember there was this a Peter Van Onselen and Christina Keneally. They decided as a joke to take David Linehelm of the Liberal Democrats out of context when they interviewed him one day, because he was speaking hypothetically about you need a gun to protect yourself if people are threatening you. And David Linehelm said, I'm coming to kill you, Peter Van Onselen. I know where you live. I've made threats against you. So they just played that bit to look like David Linehelm was threatening Peter Van Onselen, but it was just a hypothetical. So yes, when you're quoting somebody or it's a hypothetical, that's and you're being taken out of context if they're trying to allege you said something, you're saying something that you didn't. But going back to this, so yeah, Sam Newman took umbrage at what Thomas Sewell said, and about the Aboriginals, because Sam Newman says that his greatest mentor when he started at the Geelong Football Club in the 60s was Graham Polly Farmer, who was an Aboriginal Australian footballer. But Sam, his belief when it comes to race is it's the boomer mindset that we shouldn't have special laws or a voice in the Constitution for members of a certain race. One of the things that has pissed him off as late is that Telstra offers an express a phone customer service for Aboriginals. So this is and adds to why Sam didn't appreciate being misrepresented by Blair. And of course, Tom and Blair, they were always going to use Sam's, try and pitch to Sam's audience. He's only just started doing video podcasts, but the downloads on the podcast, they're about 50,000 to 100,000 per episode. This one got 200,000 according to my sources. So it got more than double the average. But of course, Tom and Blair were going to use it to try and reach what they thought were a new audience, and also clip what Tom was saying for propaganda purposes. And of course, Sam has the right to say, no, I didn't have them on because he said that wasn't my purpose to have them on for them to use me in their propaganda directly or indirectly. And now Avi Yemeni, who is also an opportunist and always wanting to get one over the white nationalist, posted on his X that he had on Wednesday evening that he'd interviewed Sam and got him to convert to Judaism. So is that like a IDF yarmulke? It looks like camouflaged. And I think that's basically supposed to be a parody of Blair's photo with Sam of the handshake. And so I'll play it now. So Avi does with Sam what Sam accused Blair of doing, except I think in this situation, Sam was happy for Avi to use him for his own purposes, because Sam was wanting to use Avi and Sam's been on Avi and Rukshan's The Opposition podcast as well. So Sam was happy that Avi used him to show that he had Jewish friends.
To anyone from the Jewish fraternity who would like to question me about like you have, I mean, you're good enough. I mean, I'm staggered that the Jewish hierarchy haven't barreled you for speaking to these people.
Just going to fix it.
Yeah. So this is a bit. So this is a bit what Mr. Cottrell did. He wanted me to shake my hand and then was going to just promote me. So you want me to put this on? This would say, look at this. Sam has decided to have a bar mitzvah.
Do you feel used?
You're not. I've just said that.
Yeah, no. I just want to make sure we have.
So I'll tell you what, we've done this for half an hour. You're going to get 10 seconds out of this.
No,
and that's the answer. Do you think I've been used? Of course I was used. I told you I've been exploited by someone who hasn't got the ethics and morals that I have and has used me for a greater purpose. I took them at face value to come in here and be interviewed. Little did I know that one of them was going to use me as a recruiting tool. That is what the only thing
Now, Blair made a response video on which was released on Friday evening on his Telegram, because he had already been banned from X then, where he accuses Sam of wanting to use them for views. Well, as I just mentioned, it got double the normal views. Though Sam said that he said he doesn't. He told Avi he doesn't regret interviewing Tom and Blair because they were people of interest. And Sam's interviewed lots of controversial people in the past, most recently Sam the Punisher, who got shot again. He's also interviewed Mick Gatto, former member of the Carlton crew, and he's a friend of John Setka. He's also interviewed John Setka as well for his version of events. And John Setka also went on 7 News Spotlight with Chanel Vella, where it was, and this is why it's interesting to interview such people. So she asked him, "Oh, why did you write Leo the dog and dump it in his property?" He was this union official he was having a dispute with, and he said, "It's his suitcase. I'm returning his suitcase. It's his property. I'm doing him a favor. It's not intimidation. It's on my way to work." It was pretty funny, his justification for that's why I dropped off the suitcase. Now, I watched the whole 35-minute interview with between Avi and Sam, and he also exploits the interview to push his rebel merch in the middle of the interview, and puts up a link on the screen. You can watch it for yourself, although it's also featured in Blair's critique of the Sam Avi interview. And I noticed that also discussed is Avi sort of prompts Sam to ask him what he'd have to do to convert to Judaism. And I'll just say for the record, I would fail the qualifications to both join the National Socialist Network and the Jews, and I don't want to be a member of either. I'm just happy being me. Now, Blair in his video said that he didn't hate Sam, even though Sam basically character assassinated him. If it was someone else, like I remember what he said about Laura Jays on Sky News when she called him a fascist arsehole on the air. I won't repeat it, but he said that he believes that Sam is getting bad advice, and that in the aftermath of this is it's basically elder abuse, manipulating Sam in that way. Now, Sam also challenged Devere Abramovich after what he said about Sam and the Herald Sun. Said, "Come on this podcast and say that to my face." And I mean, have you got the guts, Devere? I mean, Sam's not going to. If you come into Sam's studio, he's not going to hurt you. He likes to talk to people face to face. You man enough for that, Devere? And the night after the Sam Newman podcast was released, it was the Tuesday evening. There was a mass scrubbing of National Socialist accounts from X, not just Blair and Tom, but Jimone Roberts, Tim Lutz, Jacob Hirschnet, Nathan Bull. The only one who survived was Joel Davis, which I don't know if the powers that be, whether it was the E-Safety Commissioner or the Home Affairs Department or the Australian Federal Police, ASIO, whoever it was who directed X to do that, decided we'll leave Joel up to sort of feed the accusation that he's a Fed, which was actually I posted online by Avi Yemeni, because Joel Davis said that he used to be in Antifa and because he wanted to throw Molotov cocktails at police and was kicked out because he wanted to basically they didn't like his advice, and so they kicked him out. Now, Joel has been arrested twice for the Jews Hate Freedom rally and outside of the Magistrates Court in Adelaide, South Australia. So if he kept falling through the arrests, then it would have a bit more credence, the accusation that is a Fed. But if you're getting arrested and charged, if there's a statewide manhunt for you, like there was after the Jews Hate Freedom rally, there were people for years who said that Senator Slayer Neil Erickson was a Fed because he kept avoiding jail. Well, that was until he was imprisoned, not for hurty words at a gay church and at Friday prayers at Federation Square. Nathan Swindon, who has survived what he calls it there, says, learn to say herjant. It is, what is it? Hers aunt. That's how you say it, as in hers aunt. I'm not good at pronunciation. And there's another account that survived, Comfy, as well. Joel lasted another 24 hours. Now, what I believe was the trigger for this was him speaking with Senator Jared Rennick, who is now formed his own party, Jared Rennick People First, asking him to investigate who was behind this mass scrubbing of National Socialists, and to also make sure that he voted against the hate crimes bill, the criminal code amendment. And because he was able to, on a Twitter X space, speak to a sitting senator, I thought that I believe that that's when the powers that be decided to scrub Joel as well. Now, just while I mention this, the Free Speech Union of Australia, they won a case on behalf of Celine against the Machine, whose real name is Celine Barmagarten. Her post talking about a queer club at a primary school was deleted from X, and the Administrative Appeals Tribunal basically ruled that she's exceeding her power, Julian Mangrant, Karen, by using these informal notices as a de facto takedown notices. Maybe that's what she used here. So the judge broke down the e-safety's process to reveal that while asserting that the notice was informal, referring to the terms of use X has for itself, the complaint was actually lodged via X channels for use government authority to submit valid legal requests for the removal of X for potentially illegal content. This is, well, it's a mini victory. So but both major parties back in Julian Mangrant, the e-safety commissioner. So no matter which political party you vote for in the federal election, you're going to get the e-safety commissioner. And the criminal code amendment, a hate speech, hate crimes amendment, that was passed by the Uni Party in record time. Southern Samurai says, when I was a kid, a queer club at primary school would have had the school shut down and the police investigation. Well, why can't that still happen now? I mean, how is a queer club even remotely age appropriate? So, yes, it was one day after the Sam Newman podcast. All of the National Socialists were banned from X, and Joel Davis lasted another 24 hours. Though I should also mention that Blair Cottrell, he denies being a National Socialist Nazi, denied to Sam Newman being a member of the National Socialist Network. Although if there was some, I have to say, if there was some kangaroo court where they decided to put Joel, Tom and Blair on trial to decide whether they were Nazis, well, obviously Thomas Sowell would plead guilty as charged, and Joel Davis would also be found guilty. And I would say that probably either Blair would be found guilty or being found guilty of being a fellow traveller. I mean, it's a kangaroo court. You can make up any ruling that you please. The short straw says, I pulled my kids out of a school during a gay pride march. Was that a high school or a primary school? That's absolutely disgusting. It might just now segue while we're talking about queer clubs in schools. Did anyone hear about this absolutely disturbing report that was in the Courier Mail? There was a Queensland high school teacher at Logan Marsden State High School who had been referring to themselves as a cat. You can see their faces blurred, but the cat ears. And so photos and short videos showed the teacher in the classroom wearing cat ears, headband, and lanyard with the word purr on it. She liked to be called Miss Purr. And so the cohort had more than 3,000, and so was seen wearing the ears around the school over multiple days, including at an assembly, and even hissed and growled at them when they were asked a question or didn't listen. So completely disturbing. I mean, there's schools that have allowed children to identify as cats, and the teachers provide kitty litter trays for them. But apparently that's fake news, according to the queer activists. I remember some teacher joking that that sometimes when he feeds his cat, he has some himself, and that turns him into a cat. It was clearly just joking. Like some teachers like to act a bit eccentric, but didn't put cat ears on his head. But thankfully, Miss Purr has been hissed away and is no longer at work, and hopefully has been fired. I mean, that was not perfect conduct, to use the pun. I see that Brent Norman says, shows how desperate they are for teachers at Marsden High, always been a shit school. Well, I can't comment on that. Margot says that if you can't afford small Christian school, homeschool, private schools can be worse. Too many libtards with too much money, no brains, send kids to private schools. Yeah, some of them are in the safe schools, LGBTQ program as well, supposedly Christian ones. So yes, Joel was suspended on the Wednesday, and then the Criminal Code Amendment Hate Crimes bill was rushed through the Senate on the Wednesday, and although Matt Canavan made a speech saying that there's already laws against, because it was basically a Trojan horse bill that is to sneak in extra a hate crime bills under the guise of making the urging of force violence, including recklessly, based on a based on a targeted group. That stuff is already illegal. So this was to be making it to be double, triple, super illegal. And what also was included in that was also a big, and this I went through what the Shadow Home Affairs Minister for the Liberals, James Patterson, it included mandatory minimum sentences for a Nazi salute and displaying Nazi symbols of 1 year in prison. 1 year in prison for raising your arm in a certain direction. 1 year minimum. Am I still allowed to do do a hand symbol of like 1 to signify 1 year in prison? Like, this is the ridiculous thing about making hand gestures illegal. Like, me on this live stream, I'm constantly wary of where my fingers and hands and arms go, and like, you could get 1 year mandatory sentence. And I saw Joel Davis bizarrely claiming that these federal hate crime bills aren't a big deal, and that too many people, I think is assuming, like Craig Kelly, what is that, blackbilling, and it's leading to people self-censoring, saying that the state, the legislation before the state parliaments is what is worse. Although it's the Australian Federal Police, they only really enforce, well, in the past, when it comes to using a carriage service to menace or harass, they've only really used this when it comes to like real threats, not just abusive phone calls. But they could hypothetically become like the British police. But this new law could make National Socialist Network banners such as Destroy Pedo Freaks, which Allegra Spender said should be illegal just because it's inciting hatred, but that could now be considered incitement to violence, because well, Allegra Spender, to give her the benefit of the doubt, she would argue that it's unfurling the banner Destroy Pedo Freaks at an anti-trans protest is claiming that trans people are pedophiles. So she would be arguing that that's incitement to hatred based on gender identity, which is covered. Now, the Parliament did not agree that hate speech should be illegal, but of course, the legislation says the person threatens to use force or violence. What is force? And so destroy pedo freaks, that could be considered threatening to use force or violence, as could the banner white man fight back. Auditing Australia says left is going to be losing it when they start getting arrested for calling people Nazis. That it definitely includes inciting hatred. Well, that's not what's illegal. It's inciting violence or force. But when they say punch a Nazi, smash the fash, that would be considered incitement or threaten to use force or violence, because this includes political opinion. But I think we all know that the federal police are not going to use this against Antifa. But political opinion, the reason why that's included is so that they can arrest and charge a pro-Palestine activist such as Hashtaya for his speeches against Zionism, for like when he said they wanted to charge him for saying all Zionists are terrorists, and they couldn't get him for that. So the feds are also after him as well. So I think that that's the sort of thing that it's political opinions included, because, well, it was too much of a stretch to say that Zionism is included in race or religion. So that's why they included political opinion. But they also, and this is why the Albanese government capitulated to the coalition's demand for mandatory minimums, even though they went against their own national platform, the Labor Party national platform, which is normally a big no-no in the Labor Party. And Mark Dreyfus, the Attorney General, was also against it, and he's Jewish, so he actually didn't want mandatory minimum sentences for Nazi salutes and Nazi swastikas. Craig Kelly, he posted on his X, he's running for the Libertarian Party in the New South Wales Senate. The so-called hate crimes bill is just another Trojan horse cunning disguised to enable big government to suppress free speech. To rebuke Joel, every law that restricts free speech, even though it is, and it also was a Trojan horse because it made a illegal property, house of worship, car damage based on protected attributes, the targeted group. That's why Matt Canavan said that he voted for it, even though it was already illegal. All of these anti-Semitic attacks, which most of them appear to be carried out by petty and organized criminals, being directed by a puppet master from overseas, paying them. That's not me alleging it, that's the Australian Federal Police. So any law that passes the federal parliament with bipartisan support, anti-free speech, is a day of shame for the parliament, and this won't be the last. You can guarantee. So yeah, Craig Kelly is absolutely right to make a big deal about this. So I don't know why Joel's trying to play it down. So I will play first Jared Rennick of People First. He voted against it. He wasn't going to fall for it. When I say that you can't be seen to vote against making criminal you can't be seen to be voting against making hate crimes against synagogues and targeting Jewish property, you can't be seen to voting against that, even though it already is illegal. So Jared Rennick was having none of it.
I mean, look at the last week's hysteria over the bombs in a caravan. Senator Babbitt, please remind me the next time I decide to blow something up that I'll leave bombs in a caravan with a handwritten note that I'm going to do it and where I'm going to do it. I mean, this type of fear-mongering over allegations that somehow a couple of meth heads who'd be lucky to get their next find their next hit are somehow organising a terrorist plot is absolutely absurd. And while for a minute, you know, I don't agree with the Prime Minister on many things, I think the attack on him and somehow that he's playing games with this is absolutely absurd. And that's what this bill is all about. It's a political stunt and it's going to circumvent free speech.
Part of what
And now the short straw says, I don't trust Rennick. He did vote against the bill, though would he have voted against the bill if he had not lost his Liberal National Party pre-selection at the next federal election? I sure hope so. Alex Antic, he did vote against it. So did the Ralph Babbitt of the, United Australia Party is hoping to get registered with a High Court challenge. And so did Fatima Payman, obviously because she believes that pro-Palestine activists will be targeted by it. So did David Pocock, the Teal senator from the ACT. He's pretty good on civil liberties, actually. And Tammy Tyrrell, the ex-Jackie Lambie network. And this was Anthony Albanese being asked about the passing of these hate crime laws. And again, he basically admits it's about sending a message, which is not how legislation should be passed. No good legislation is ever passed. He's basically saying it's a virtue signal legislation. Well, and this is what you're basically doing by making things double, triple illegal. So I'll just play Anthony Albanese.
Is to turn down the heat on some of the issues as well. People will say things on social media that they would never say to you face to face, and they engage in a way that seems to ramp up from 0 to 11 straight away. We need to be able to have civil discourse in this country. I don't want to see the sort of polarisation that we see in some of our democracies around the world happen here, which is why I'll continue to engage in the way that I do constructively with people, but why as well I think that we all have a responsibility as leaders at different levels, but also everyone with a phone pointed at us here has a publishing device. Now, that wasn't the case. When I first came to this beautiful part of the world, you know, as a little kid, people were just engaging with each other and playing and doing all of that. We are taking a range of measures to try to get that community responsibility back. One of the good things about what's happening here with the work that Alison's done with Justine and the council is responding to local needs in a way that's civil, coming up with solutions as well.
And
can anyone hear my fan in the background? It feels like it's about to actually fall off. I hope this is not going to be like the Victorian Electoral Commission where my fan falls off. Hopefully it doesn't decapitate me. Because it's one of those, ceiling fans. Now, Pauline Hanson and Malcolm Roberts, they fell for the Trojan horse. They decided to abstain because they couldn't vote for it, but they couldn't vote against it because they didn't want to be seen as being soft on terrorist hate crimes, which, of course, that was just the selling point.
more than likely will.
As in you won't support them, or you will support them?
No, I possibly will support the hate crime laws by all means. I possibly will support the hate crime laws by all means. There shouldn't be hate crimes in Australia.
And mandatory minimum sentences, mandatory jail time for those. Do you support that?
Yes, I do. Yes, there has to be.
Now, Pauline Hanson and Malcolm Roberts, as well as Matt Canavan, have been absolutely copping it on X for not standing for the principle and basically succumbing to the moral blackmail. I know that Pauline Hanson just tried to distract her followers by having another motion in the Senate to have a proper federal gender inquiry into the transing of under 18s. There were most of the coalition senators voted for it, apart from Andrew Bragg, Richard Colbeck, and Maria Kovic. They're not getting away with this, and there has been a lot of disappointment on the right with One Nation for quite a while. Most of the, I would say, freedom right has gravitated towards the Libertarian Party, although it were with in the aftermath of Blair and Tom on Sam Newman, and following the mass scrubbing of National Socialists from X, there were many libertarians or members of the freedom community who wanted to make it clear that even though they don't agree with NSN being arrested just for being in a park in the city on Australia Day, or being deleted from X, they do not agree with National Socialism, and certainly don't believe that somebody like Roxanne Fernando deserves to be targeted with racial slurs. I mean, if you are a National Socialist, what benefit? How does that advance your cause by throwing racial slurs at Roxanne? They might argue, oh, he started it by sort of backing in Vivek Ramaswamy's position on H-1B visas and attacking what they would say is Western white culture. I mean, it's a fair point to Vivek Ramaswamy and Roxanne. If your culture is one of achievement, then how come India and Sri Lanka aren't greater than the West? But David Limbrick, the Libertarian upper house MLC here in Victoria, he took it way further in it was basically a attack. Well, when I say attack, you sort of got to be careful when you say this now. It was attacking Sam Newman for having Blair and Tom on, and I took this personally because I've interviewed Blair several times. I haven't interviewed Tom. He said free speech isn't about platforming any scumbag without consequences. It's about government control over speech. You are free to use your platform association to shut those who platform and promote disgusting ideas. Platforming scumbags doesn't make you a hero of free speech. It just makes you someone who platforms scumbags. So David Limbrick clearly didn't watch the podcast, because he would have seen that Sam challenges Blair and Tom, and this is where a platform is where you give somebody an open mic and don't interject. So, and this is the key difference between X. Well, it's supposedly Elon Musk said it was the new town square. It was returning to be a platform, but it's pre Elon, X, Twitter, and all the other social medias became publishers because they no longer allowed people to post what they wanted, and so then they became publishers. So I replied saying, interviewing people of interest to find out what they have to say for themselves rather than what other people say about them is important. You also overlooked that guilt by association is bullshit. People speak for themselves and their own views. And Sam Newman was very adamant that I speak for me. Just because I had them on my show, it doesn't mean I agree with them at all. And plus, David Limbrick sounded like a leftist there. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of consequence, which is basically how they excuse cancel culture. Now, maybe it is personal for David Limbrick, like it is for Rukshan, because David Limbrick's wife is Japanese. He has 3 sons with her. So, although I suspect he didn't listen to the podcast, but if he heard Thomas Sowell say deport 12 million non-whites, would that include his 3 sons because they're part Japanese? I mean, that's something that Sam should have asked Thomas Sowell. Does that include all of the mixed race children who are being born to mixed race couples, white Australians and Asians, Africans, and in the future Indian as well? And now Joel Davis, he challenged Rukshan to a debate, and he's also challenged Joel Jamal to a debate as well, because they've both criticized him, which is, and I think this is also why some libertarians and freedom activists have been rubbed up the wrong way, because Joel sort of makes these demands like, of the free speech union, you must represent me. And Joel sort of he said that we all shouldn't have been mass scrubbed from X because we're people of notoriety. Obviously, all groups do spin and propaganda. And I think that a lot of libertarians and freedom activists, they don't want them defending the free speech of the NSN to be misconstrued and spun like by somebody like Joel as support or sympathy. Because obviously libertarianism and National Socialism are completely incompatible. Don't take my word for it, take Thomas Sowell's word for it. He said that he openly identifies as a collectivist and calls libertarianism a destructive individualism. I'm sort of paraphrasing him there. The chat's gone quiet, Marg, maybe because you scared them all off, because you're just commenting there and just, yeah, people don't. Please don't mind Marg, everyone. Please, I'm eager to hear what you all have to say. And of course, Rukshan and Joel Jamal, they are under no obligation to accept Joel's debate. I mean, somebody like Rukshan probably thinks if I were to debate Joel, I'm elevating him to my equal, which I don't want to do because he wants me kicked out of Australia. Even though Rukshan says I was born here, and I've previously said this, Rukshan, he would fight for Australia over another country, unlike Avi Yemeni. So that's I think important to point out. And I noticed that Joel Jamal, he reshared that Uncockables debate between David Hiscock and Ricardo Bossi about civic versus white nationalism. Though Joel Jamal, really? Do you want Ricardo Bossi to represent civic nationalism, since then he's lost his complete mind? Now, the state anti-vilification laws, the expanded Social Justice Amendment Anti-Vilification Social Cohesion Bill, which expands the protected attributes and has more time in imprisonment for inciting and threatening hatred, not violence. It is being opposed by the Batten Liberal opposition, but not because they stand for free speech, but because it doesn't go far enough, because it has a genuine political purpose exception, which is the very least that they could do, apart from not having this legislation. And because, like, the Federal Liberal Party, the Victorian Liberal Party is 100% behind the Jews and the Zionists, said that because the Jewish Community Council of Victoria, or they also mentioned the Islamic Council of Victoria, do not like the genuine political purpose. So the Shadow Attorney General Michael O'Brien says the Allen Labor government has ridden roughshod over the Legal and Social Matters Committee and pushed ahead with legislation that will reduce social cohesion by excluding conduct that is hateful, seriously contemptuous, and reviling. Labor's political purpose defence provides a legal protection that allows extreme hate speech to exist. Yet somehow Joel Davis is more concerned about this law than he is about the federal laws. Liberals and Nationals are supportive of the expansion of the grounds of protected attributes. So even though Peter Dutton was on with Peter Credlin saying that he wanted to protect women and girls in from competing against biological men, and his senators voted, most of his senators voted for a proper inquiry into gender treatment for minors, it basically outlawing a criticism. Because I take, for example, what Michael Knowles said at CPAC a couple of years ago, transgenderism must be eradicated. He could be charged with that in Australia about the state and federal law. And of course, he said that to be provocative and inflame, but he can say that in America because of the First Amendment. But then he also says, Michael O'Brien, concerningly, the courts will need to assess how sensitive groups and subgroups are in order to assess whether a particular conduct is illegal. So sort of saying that they should, well, he says they should be reasonable tests, not how the person of the protected group felt. And also doesn't like the lawfare aspect of the civil provisions. So sort of a bit all over the place, Michael O'Brien, as are the Victorian elites. Short story says gender treatment is child abuse. Could that be considered incitement to hatred? Could fall. It could be interpreted as threatening force. Like if you say that these gender doctors should be prosecuted, is that threatening force? Ian Duke says there is no difference between the Liberals and Labor in Australia. Well, there's one difference: energy policy. Peter Dutton, that's his only standout policy, the nuclear policy, which I think is excellent. What's the other policy Peter Dutton has come up with this year? To exclude fringe benefits tax from long business lunches, which it's apparently to stimulate a restaurant business, and also so that there can be more, I guess, camaraderie in small business. But it just seems like, how's that meant to appeal to the working class? Seriously. Now, let's stick with, well, hate speech for a moment. Well, a hate speech against white people, which we have been told in the case of Sam Kerr, who has been on trial in London for racially aggravated harassment against a police officer after she got insanely drunk with her partner, now fiance, Christy Muse. who is a soccer player for the United States national team, and who is having who is pregnant with an IVF baby with Sam Kerr. So 2 years ago now, almost to the day, they got insanely drunk at a night out in Twickenham, a suburb of London. Sam Kerr spewed in a taxi, refused to pay for the clean up, and so the taxi driver, who was a Muslim, by the way, called the police, and they said, look, drop him off at the police station. And so then at the police station, they played the gender card, saying, we thought we were being kidnapped. You don't understand what it's like for us women. Well, you must have been completely drunk, so drunk to think that you're being kidnapped. And Kirsten used smashed the back window trying to escape. They must have been so drunk. And so at the police station, this is where, well, Sam Kerr says this, the anti-white, gives this police officer, a British police officer, she racially abuses him.
Did you stay on the phone long enough to even speak to someone? That's the thing. They hung up on us. Okay, but they wouldn't do that though. Oh my God. They wouldn't do that. You should have spoken to the. You guys are fucking stupid and white. Honestly, you guys are fucking stupid and white. Okay. I'm looking you in the eyes. Why are you I'm looking you in the eyes. Like, that's fucking stupid. I'm fucking over this shit. This is the world fucking problem. Wait on the call. Wait on the call. Wait on the fucking call. All right. I'll go over at the moment then at 3:17. You're under arrest for criminal damage because there's an allegation that you've smashed that taxi window. You're also under arrest for racially aggravated public order for the comments that you've said. So the reason, that's fine. The reason for your arrest was for a prompt and effective.
I stand with Sam Kerr.
And so that's just it's the police body cam footage of when she says the racial slur. I'm not sure if I should repeat it. Now, I don't believe that Britain should have any laws that police speech, unless it is, I would say, genuinely a immediate incitement to violence. So that I think everyone agree that type of that is the only type of speech which should be unlawful. And now, Sam Kerr, she also accused the male police officer of white privilege, and now I do hope that she is found not guilty, and it is. She probably will be, because in the world that we live in, this a white police officer would be seen as a precious petal for taking offence at a drunk woman of colour calling him that. Though if she was saying that about a black and a brown police officer, and she was white, she identifies as Anglo-Indian, but obviously Sam Kerr is visibly brown. If she was white, a white soccer player saying that to a brown or black police officer, end of her career. And I'm not saying it should be the end of her sporting career. She's been injured most of the time, but she shouldn't have the Matilda's captaincy anymore. I saw that Bruce Jitte, former A-League and Socceroo player, who is a African Australian. I think his exact country where his parents were from is Kenya. So he's very blacks, said that Sam Kerr should lose the captaincy over this, because yes, this is totally appalling, just conduct, period, to just publicly just make a scene like this. I mean, she showed the bank account balance to the police officer, saying she could afford to pay for all the damages, the spew fee, 50 quid, and the damage. When she sobered up, came the next night to pay for it all. Well, she should have obviously just done that from the beginning. But I also can't believe that her fiance, Christy Muse, who is white, testified on the stand to say that Sam Kerr was speaking her truth in a drunken racist tirade. She doesn't seem to have much self-respect for herself as a white woman. I certainly wouldn't cop from a person who I thought was a friend of colour, an anti-white slur, even if they were drunk. So Lydia Thorpe, who got up in Parliament, and I've seen some Aboriginals try to claim Sam Kerr as one of their own because, she could pass for an Aboriginal even though she's not, because she was standing up to a white police officer who was oppressing her. So this was Lydia Thorpe's tirade in the Senate.
Reason for your arrest was for a prompt and effective... I stand with Sam Kerr. With Sam, what Sam experienced that night is what so many black and brown women experience every single day. She had been locked in a taxi for 20 minutes, unsure of where she was going or whether she was being kidnapped. Her simple request to that police officer was that he put himself in her shoes. But instead of interviewing the taxi driver to investigate Sam's concerns, the police officer decided to belittle and ignore her. This is racism. For those who need a reminder, here is a quick definition. Racism is a system of power and oppression based on race, a system of which social standards, institutions, laws and political decisions establish and reinforce norms that uphold inequalities between racial groups. Racism is about how power works to oppress people already copying it. It is a system that upholds white supremacy, like this place. A white cop who is a part of a system that upholds white supremacy and who benefits from white supremacy cannot be a victim of white supremacy.
Even though it was the Muslim taxi driver who called the police, he was doing the bidding of white supremacy because some drunken, entitled soccer player had spewed in his vehicle, so he couldn't use it for the rest of his shift, and refused to pay for it. So that is a crime against the property. And so Sam Kerr should have paid restitution. And of course, Lydia Thorpe, what Lydia Thorpe has said, it feeds into, well, it's a contributor to why there is so much crime perpetrated by many Indigenous youth in Alice Springs and other places in central and northern Australia, because they're taught by leaders such as Lydia Thorpe that if the white copper trying to arrest you for that, he's just perpetuating white supremacy. And so that's basically what they are taught, that it's not a big deal to commit violent and property crimes against your white oppressors, because that's reparations or whatever the logic is. So that's a contributor to much of the Indigenous youth crime, I believe, attitudes like Lydia Thorpe. And now we have the sports minister, Annika Wells, on Sunday General Sky News yesterday, speaking on all our behalf, apparently. That
been a rocky road for Sam and her partner. The more we find out about that incident, I think the more you can understand why they've acted the way that they have. But being an ex-lawyer myself, I would never seek to interfere or comment on a court trial process whilst it's in action. But I think Australia certainly has, Sam certainly has Australia behind it.
Well, I'm not behind Sam Kerr in that I think she is a great role model. I've said I hope she's found not guilty, but I don't stand behind her after this absolutely appalling conduct has been broadcast. And it's interestingly enough, when in my initial article commenting on when Sam Kerr was originally arrested, when it was revealed that she had been charged with racially aggravated let's go back to the racially aggravated harassment against the police officer. I talked about the dismissal of anti-white racism. And I remember Lydia Thorpe outside that strip club where she claimed she hadn't been drinking, racially abused a white man. Now, the reason why I also hope that, well, it should never have come to a trial anyway. I hope that she's found not guilty because it will show that it was a complete waste of the prosecution's time. They would be much better off in the UK prosecuting mass stabbers and pedophiles. And I think that the police prosecuting 10 years ago, the then Chelsea captain, John Terry. I'm a Chelsea supporter. I have John Terry's number 26 on the back of my Chelsea jersey. I don't have it here, but he was charged with racial, like it was a criminal trial. They accused of racially abusing Queen's Park Rangers player Anton Ferdinand, and he claimed that he didn't racially abuse him. He was what he said was a slur against Wayne Bridge, who was this Manchester City player who John Terry had slept with his wife, and John Terry was married himself. It was a real footballer's wives saga, that. So John Terry claimed he was saying effing Bridge C, not the other one, and he was eventually found not guilty. That should never have gone to trial. Some might call me a hypocrite for saying that. Even after that, I still agree with the Chelsea Stamford Bridge banner, John Terry, a leader, legend. Now, let's go over to week 3 of the Trump administration, and obviously the big executive order that Trump signed, which he invited Billboard Chris to and Jamie Mitchell from Gays Against Groomers and Riley Gaines, was to sign an executive order banning biological men from competing in women's sports, trans athletes. Now, I'm actually not as impressed with this as others seem to be, because the Congress, Mike Johnson and John Thune, should get off their asses and actually pass this law through the Congress, because executive orders can just be undone by the next president. And there does seem to be this sort of they're getting too comfortable, a lot of the MAGA people, saying, oh, everything's won now. The empire will continue to strike back. sorry. The Democrats will come back with a vengeance in the 2026 midterms and in 2028. They are not going to concede the transgender issue. John Fetterman, even who is considered the Democrat who's most in tune with the Trump voter, still supports the transing of children. Executive orders, they can be made, but nothing is as concrete as, it's much harder to get Congress to repeal a bill once it is passed. I mean, just look at Obamacare. Though Trump is claiming victory, saying exciting news due to my executive order, which I proudly signed yesterday. The NCAA, the National College Athletic Association, officially changed their policy of allowing men and women's sports. It's now banned. A great day for women and girls across the country. Men should never have been allowed to compete against women in the first place, but I'm proud to be the president of Save Women's Sport. We expect Olympic Committee to use common sense and implement this policy, which is very popular among the American people and the entire world. Then there was Trump's executive order when it comes to the Gaza Strip. Sorry, not executive order. His proclamation that he wants the Gaza Strip to be turned over to the United States and to have the Palestinians move out while the US rebuilds it. And so he said this in front of Benjamin Netanyahu when he was visiting the White House. And now this has been most people don't believe that Trump is serious about this, that it's just a negotiating tactic for the chess. So, but on the face of it, this is not an America First idea. This is empire building, which Donald Trump said he was against. And it's interesting, not just America Firsters such as Rand Paul are against it, even neocons such as Lindsey Graham are against it. So some people believe that he wants the Arab state, that it's a part of the deal to get the Arab states to rebuild Gaza. But how can it be rebuilt while Hamas is still hiding in all the tunnels? I mean, during the hostage exchanges, the Hamas militants are out in the street firing their guns. They are wearing their, face masks. Maybe the pro-Palestine people say they're just being COVID safe. It's not to cover their identities as well. And again, I said last week, I don't support the Trump tariffs, even though it was a negotiating tool when it came to Canada and Mexico, got some concessions on them on border patrols. But on the face of it, I don't support tariffs, just like I don't support his latest tariff proposal, which he made on the plane over to the Super Bowl in New Orleans. So a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminium, so that'll hurt Australia. So I don't think any MAGA-aligned politician or supporter should be cheering on this, because we're supposed to be Australia first here in Australia. Well, I'm a free trader. Anyway, I mean, the last thing we need is more economic pain in Australia unnecessarily. Anthony Albanese says he has a phone call with Donald Trump scheduled, I think, for tomorrow. So we'll see what comes of that, whether we will be exempted from the tariffs like we were during the last Trump presidency. But nobody should sort of be gloating that, oh, this is, Albo's fault or Kevin Rudd's fault. This is going to be bad for Australia. And now, though, I have to say that Donald Trump, he won me over completely with his latest executive order, which was to bring back plastic straws. I'm sure everyone in this chat absolutely despises paper straws, mandating paper straws. It's a violation of our human rights. Some might be inclined to say that they suck, but that's the point. They don't suck. I'm going to the movies later this week to see it's being released on Valentine's Day. The new Bridget Jones movie, Mad About the Boy. I normally do the usual thing at the candy bar, as they call it in the US, and get the large soda with the buttered popcorn. And by the time I'm about halfway through the movie, halfway through my soda, the paper straw is mangled. I can't suck it out. It is absolutely, because I'm a sucker. Like I like to have a good suck on what used to be the plastic straws. And if you're a sucker, then it's just basically mangled and you can't get it out. So Donald Trump, he signed this executive order to, have I got it here? No, I don't think I've got it here. I think I missed there. But yeah, so he said that he was reversing Biden's executive order to phase out plastic straws in all federal agencies by 2027. And somebody made this hilarious meme, which I used as the promo of him clutching the plastic straws. This is his greatest executive order so far. And if Peter Dutton, if he went to the federal election saying, I'm going to repeal all of the plastic straw bans, he would win easily. I mean, I'd even forgive all of these appalling anti-free speech laws that he's passed. I'd just vote for him to become prime minister just to bring back the plastic straws. It's that important issue, and it would certainly be a welcome change from the Morrison government, where he declared war on plastic. And of course, the paper bags hardly hold anything now, unlike the plastic bags. William Turner says plastic straws are a reflection of how stupid the times we are living in. Exactly. We're going to save the planet through paper straws. And Dawn Browning says, you mean I have a whole crate of plastic straws that are now worthless? If you got them, careful, you could get a raid there. I mean, before all these hate speech laws passed, you could get the EPA, like you get massive fines for daring to give people plastic straws. So you just you can't do anything with them. Even if you gave one to me, I think you'd be arrested. What are you in for? I gave someone a plastic straw. So yes, this is another, like, it's another signal of our economic decline. I mean, it's not all about mass immigration like Thomas Sowell and the NSN argue. It's stupid policies like paper straws, the climate targets, the green tape, red tape, all the money wasted. That's what's contributed to the decline of our living standards. William Turner says Tim sucks. Yeah, I'm a sucker, definitely. Yeah, so you've also got backyard chickens as well, Dawn. There's been another bird flu outbreak at a poultry farm in Victoria. So I know the media are very excited about that because there's an egg shortage and they get to whip up hysteria about bird flu again, and want to encourage people to panic buy eggs. So yeah. Dawn, they're going to get your chickens and they're going to get your plastic straws as well. So watch out. That's as bad as being a National Socialist Network member in the current climate. Now, the other great. We're on a live stream, Dawn. This is going to air. Oh, you've got chickens as well. They're coming after you as well, auditing Australia. And now the other great, or you would say, the great start to the Trump presidency is the beginning of DOGE, run by Elon Musk, the Department of Government Efficiency, which Elon Musk, I'm not sure if he's taking a salary. He'll probably donate it to charity, but he's still running SpaceX, Tesla, X, Starlink. He's still doing everything and ship posting as well. And DOGE this past week basically exposed that the US Agency for International Development, USAID, is just a huge slush fund and money laundering operation. Sorry, I'm so blind here. I'm keep putting up the wrong screenshots here. Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times receive money? Who else did? This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. Now, this seems to be Operation Mockingbird 2.0. In case you don't know what Operation Mockingbird is, in the 50s, 60s, and early 70s, the CIA recruited people in the news media to push a pro-America propaganda. And this was all exposed in the House Church Committee hearings in the 1970s. And the CIA said, we're not going to do this anymore. Well, they're not doing it now. It's the US aid. And now because, well, Trump said he is not going to dismantle it, though he should, because foreign aid doesn't help the people in the country. It is in the long term that it's aimed to help. A lot of it is siphoned off by the corrupt governments. It means that they don't invest in their own country, stifles entrepreneurship, but that still doesn't stop the moral blackmail. And now Donald Trump, he's suspended all aid to South Africa and is going to accept South African refugees, which is great. But I saw that, was it Sky News? It was either Sky News UK or CNN visit a HIV testing a clinic in I can't remember if it was Johannesburg or Cape Town, saying that this is going to be. This means that the AIDS epidemic in Africa will just continue. There could be millions and millions of more AIDS deaths. Well, how about South Africa's government? Why don't they? I mean, they're responsible for South African citizens. Why is it the US government's responsibility to fund HIV testing and prevention and treatment programs? Why is that, they're still the white man's burden? I mean, South Africa, the blacks wanted to govern themselves, the African National Congress, they got their wish, but they still want to take the money off white Western governments. They should be taking care of their own people, as the United States government should be taking care of their own people. And now the mainstream media, they are now, because they don't, well, they've targeted what DOGE is cutting, because the latest is that the Department of Education has now been abolished. It was unconstitutional anyway. And also wants to audit the Pentagon, because remember, Donald Rumsfeld announced that there was like trillions of dollars that they'd lost just before 9/11, and then everyone forgot about it because of 9/11. And also wants to audit the Fed as well. So he's just getting started. But yes, so the US mainstream media, they decided that, we're not having much luck going after DOGE's cuts. They seem pretty popular, so let's attack a DOGE employee for some racist shitposting.
So this is a 19-year-old high school graduate who has used the unfortunate nickname Big Balls online. So that would be one way that we could refer to him. He is now working at Musk's behest inside DOGE. And we looked into his background. And so we found, several notable things, Aaron, one of which is that this individual has founded multiple companies, including one with another unfortunate name, Tesla.Sexy LLC, which he established in 2021. He would have been around 16 years old. Now, this LLC controls dozens of web domains.
So, Kara, you hear this, and you have known Elon Musk for years. So now you look at these young men who are now in data and in the private information about maybe hundreds of millions of American citizens as young as 19, the big balls here that Katie's talking about. Most of them are in their early 20s. There's an exception I'm going to get to in a minute. I'm curious, though, Kara, how well does even Musk know these young men, do you think?
I have no idea. I think there's no vetting whatsoever, as you can see, that's taking place. It took Katie and the really great team. Wired has done an astonishing job here. I could make a joke that's probably why he was hired for all this ridiculous nonsense and other nefarious things. But, there's an expression in technology that's not it's a feature, not a bug.
The irony and the nerve of these people to claim that Musk is not hiring the best when they've been advocating DEI for years, which it's aimed to not hire the best. That's the whole point of DEI, that you don't hire the best person for the job. And and of course, Elon Musk, he fired. How can they claim that he doesn't have a track record? Fired 80% of Twitter X's staff, and it's still running perfectly. There are a few bugs originally, such as the nudes in bio, pussy in bio bots, but it's still perfect. So of course he's taking that to the federal government, but there's still a long way to go. So he's got to just keep cutting. So as I mentioned, that Donald Trump he announced the tariffs on his way to the Super Bowl. He was in New Orleans. Sorry, it was the Kansas City Chiefs, the team which Taylor Swift's boyfriend Travis Kelce plays for, up against the Philadelphia Eagles, and they absolutely smashed the Kansas City Chiefs. Philadelphia Eagles. Taylor Swift was booed. Travis Kelce was in tears. This is because Biden's no longer president. Remember, he rigged last year so that they could get as part of their plan to have Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift endorse Joe Biden. Of course, Biden dropped out, and so she endorsed Kamala Harris. So Taylor Swift, she's taken a knock this past year. It is New Orleans, that's Louisiana. They've got that excellent senator there, John Kennedy, who was excellent with Kash Patel, saying, you're called a conspiracy theorist, Trump's nominee to run the FBI, but all your conspiracy theories turned out to be true. There's still the big three nominees his nominees to get confirmed to his cabinet. So Kash Patel for the FBI, easily the best person for the job, and also Tulsi Gabbard for the director of national intelligence, and also Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for the Department of Health. All right, so I did an epic show tonight, over 2 hours, so I should wrap this up. Well, there was a lot to cover. A lot has happened, particularly in Australia recently. So remember, I cannot do this all without your support, whether it be Tim's News Explosion, Wilms Front, reports from Tiger Mountain with Richard Wollstonecroft, or out in the field. So please consider taking out a premium membership on the unshackled.net/membership. So that's where the Unshackled articles are still posted. And now over on Substack, that is where Unshackled Productions get emailed, how they're emailed before shows, and also where the Unshackled Production archives are now. So you can also take out a membership there. So it's $5 monthly, $50 annual, $500 founding, or you can take out a free subscription so you get email alerts whenever there's an upcoming Shackled production, and also you can keep notified of when there is a new when I'm about to go live by making sure you subscribe to the Wilms Front channel, clicking the bell to allow for notifications. Give a thumbs up, like, comment below, because it all helps with the algorithm. Make sure you're also subscribed to the Unshackled YouTube channel as well, because that's also where the report from Tiger Mountain is published there, as well as other video reports as well. Now, there is no RCR, a reality check radio Wilms report this week, because it's every second week, but I'll have a lot to obviously catch up with Paul Brennan on regular Tuesday shows. So you can go to check out the RCR 2.0. Dewey DeVore is back with the dialogue. So it's rcr.media. And so this is the website homepage here. And you can so they've got a lot. They're doing more video content as well. Now, hope you enjoyed my appearance on Dave Right Now's Awakened Aussies last Thursday evening after my Wilms Front interview with Dr. William Bay. Hope you liked that as well. It was hard to get a word in when Bob, the Conservative, turned up halfway through. Somebody said he looked and sounded like Angry Anderson. Though, for anyone who watched, I know Dawn watched, he was more Bob the Boomer, had a lot of boomerish views, which, like I said, it was hard to sort of rebuke and get a word in. Now, I'll let you know if there's a Wilms Front this Thursday. I've got some guests in the works, and also reports from Tiger Mountain with Richard Walshancroft in the works as well. So in the meantime, even though it's been a bit of a black pilling week, stay safe, stay sane, stay optimistic, because there is, like, I'm not going to take a backwards step. Certainly, nobody should stop speaking their mind, because it's too important. And so hope that you are all not demoralized this week, because the United States has shown us under Donald Trump that things can and do turn around. Good night, everybody.
Tim's News Explosion. 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 Tim's News Explosion.